Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a Quantum. It's the Magnum Pro 4. It's got a centrifugal braking system. It's got 2 ball bearings, and it has a problem in that there is no anti-reverse here. So we're going to take this reel apart. We're going to see if we can reestablish that anti-reverse. If we need a part, that's going to be difficult due to the age of this reel. But otherwise, this reel seems to be working fine. It's just that it's kind of caught up here with the backlash because of the lack of an anti-reverse. So we're going to start by taking off the exterior pieces to this reel. And as we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the art of reel repair, if you'd like to understand more about fishing reels, if you'd like to see how they're made and learn a little bit about the manufacturers who make them. That's what I try to cover in the course of the channel and in the course of a demonstration on how to service a fishing reel. So if you subscribe, please use the notification button. That will help you to see when I'm posting the videos. And, well, you can make a determination as to whether that's a video you want to watch. Today it's a low-profile bait caster by Quantum. Tomorrow it may be a saltwater reel. The next day it may be a spinning reel. Who knows? You're basically looking over my shoulder in the shop to see what I'm working on and to learn how to do it yourself. That's the idea behind Second Chance Tackle. Well, I took the nut cap off, and behind that there is an E-clip. That E-clip holds the handle and the gear shaft to the post. Under the E-clip there is a small brass washer. Well, one of the ways you can kind of work on your reels and not lose the pieces and parts is to use a parts tray. I use a fast food container, or at least I have for a while now. But whatever you find that's convenient for you in terms of tracking your pieces and parts, I recommend that you do use a system for it, so that when you're working on a reel, maybe a reel of this age, well, you won't have an issue there with being able to find them when it comes time to reinstall. We're backing off the star adjuster for the reel. I'm going to put that in my tray, and then it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 screws. Now this is a Zebco Quantum. Zebco and Quantum were sold to Rather Products a couple of months ago now, I guess. And Zebco is no longer a standalone company. They also had Finor and Van Staal as part of their lineup. They sold those as part of a divestiture. They sold those over to Pure Fishing. So it's going to be interesting to see how the parts are supported, if they're supported. And I know there's some of the line does not have parts support, never has. All right, we're going to remove the third screw. We'll see if that enables us to remove the side plate. I haven't worked on one of these before. If you haven't worked on a reel like this before, then one of the things you want to do is take pictures along the way. Those pictures are going to help you to see the orientation of the pieces and parts, and they're going to establish what parts and what order were taken off. And they're going to help you to reinstall if you get stuck. With those 3 off, let's see if we can get the side plate off now. Oh, we can. And not sure what I'm seeing here. I'm looking for an anti-reverse to be stuck. It's probably this one with the grease on it. And that looks to be a finger jointed anti-reverse. So we'll show you how to go ahead and take care of that. This is a good place for a picture because there's a lot going on this side here, and you don't want to have it confused when you take all the pieces and parts off and try and put them back together again. I'm going to start by removing these springs. Well, that one's attached. This one comes off. Springs have a tendency to fly off. And if they're flying off, well, you're going to be searching for them if you don't have a quick thought in terms of how to do that. Here's a bushing. It says 4 ball bearings, but one of them is not on the gear shaft. Followed by a series of adjusters. There's a couple of tension washers and a flat washer. I just took the stack out exactly how it came out. I'm going to put that in my corner of my box so that when it comes time to reinstall, I get that right. And then here's our anti-reverse dog and the main gear. And that all should come out as one. And as I mentioned, this is probably loose now, or it's got a lot of junk that's preventing it from functioning properly. So what I'm going to do with that is grab a paper towel, and I'm going to flood this with some penetrating oil to clean up the old greases and dirts which may be getting in the way. It looks like it should be functional. There doesn't appear to be anything terribly wrong with it, so I'm going to guess that we just had a chunk of grease in there that became the issue. These do not have to touch all the way. They just need to put enough tension onto the click ratchet here so that it does its job in stopping the reel. Okay, while we have this side open, I just want to give a good squeeze of penetrating oil in here just to kind of clean up any dirt. At this point, it's a tune-up, it's not a rebuild. You do not need to remove a lot of these pieces in here. You could. This is a worm gear and a pinion gear. There's a little E-clip on here if you want to remove that. You don't need to. Just make sure that your pinion gear is clean. This one's totally dry. So we're just going to check the teeth, and we're just going to use a little bit of fishing reel grease. I'm using Penn Precision Reel Grease to grease both the pinion gear and the yoke. Again, if there was something dirty or something that had to be cleaned, push this little E-clip out here, pull this assembly out, and reinstall. Right now, I'm satisfied that all this needs is grease. We've used the penetrating oil to kind of clean up underneath, but there really wasn't anything there. That was more of a demonstration of what to do. Same thing with this. This is the gear drive for your worm. That's going to make your level wind guide go back and forth. The nice thing about this is that side level wind arm should not move during casting because it's driven by the gear side. All right, let's check this part now. That one's pretty well stuck. We want to get in underneath the gear stack here just to check the drag washer. It looks like there's a 2-drag system in here. You just want to check them to make sure that they're in good condition. There's no breaks or tears in them. Now we should be able to pull this off. This one's being particularly stubborn. There we go. And then underneath there, that's why it was stubborn, we have a drag washer on the back side of this that was sticking. So let's get this one off as well. And on these, you can use some drag washer grease. I'm going to use Cal's dry grease. You can use fishing reel grease if you don't have the dry grease. That'll help refresh that. That will keep them flexible, and it will make sure that they don't stick to the metal parts. Okay, there's a little bit of residue on this one, so I'm going to take some steel wool and just brush that off so that doesn't stick. And I noticed when we did that, the little washer that belongs on the gear shaft came off as well. Okay, let's check this one. So that's how your anti-reverse dog needs to sit. And we can take this at this point and put this back on. You want to aim so that you get your anti-reverse dog over that post. And you can check it right now. We can turn and pull, turn and pull. You can see that the lever is working now, this lever right here, and it's stopping the reel. That's what we didn't have before. All right, there's two sides to this. Let's make sure that the insides are clean on this. The deeper side faces out, and the shallow side is the one that faces in. Check all the teeth on the main gear. If they're uniform and not bent or cracked or chipped or anything, then you can just go ahead, re-lube that. And you don't have to get lube on every tooth and every nook and cranny on this. That pinion gear that we previously greased is going to be smaller than this one, so it's going to rotate at a different rate, and it is going to spread the grease around so that it covers all of the pieces. Let's go ahead and take the big gear, or the big washer, I guess, not the gear, although this is the big gear. Reseat that now that it's been re-greased. Bring that in and merge that with the pinion gear. Okay, take your second washer then, that goes in the base of the front side. Then it was the round washer or the keyed washer. There's no points on that one. Then we had the second top side drag washer. And then we have our eared washer, which fits in the grooves of the main gear. And then it was a little shim washer here. And if you like, you can build up the rest of that stack at this point. Remember, we took these out in kind of a reverse order. You have a flat one, and then you have these washers that are, they sometimes appear bent or misshapen. They're tension washers for adjustability on your stack. They're convex or concave. I always seem to get that wrong one way or another, and I alternate them. Bend up, bend down. The top one is a flat one, followed by the bushing for the side case. Well, that's this side's work. We've reinstalled the spring. We just have one more spring we got to reinstall, and that's over the anti-reverse dog leg there. And if you're looking into your parts tray at the moment, you shouldn't find anything else in there other than the handle assembly and side plate screws. We're going to come around to the other side to do the spool, but let's put this back together right now. Just line it up in the case. Make sure that you have a nice fit to it, that your seams are solid all the way around. And then go ahead and get your case screws. And there was 3 of those, and they were held on by screwdriver, by Phillips head screws. Well, if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, and maybe you're working on one and you're stuck, maybe you just got one and you want to know a little bit more about it, and leave those questions in the comment section. You can use this video. You don't have to go searching for a video. Maybe I don't even have a video for the reel you have a question about. But go ahead and leave it in the comment section. I will try to answer your questions for you, and I will see if I can help you, maybe if you're stuck on a particular aspect of a repair or service. These these low-profile bait casters are always a challenge, because you're never quite sure how they've been put together. The earlier ones are a little bit easier. Now the folks that are doing these designs are trying to hide screws and the like, and just making it, well, less convenient for us. All right, before I go over the other side, I want to just put the star adjuster on so that I can move that line guide a little bit. Just holding the shaft here while I turn the star adjuster. And we should be able to turn this a little bit so that I can move it over to the side so that we can go in and service the pawl. You remove the pawl cap, and usually you can just tap that pawl out like that. And when you do, you need to clean the pawl. Make sure that the teeth on both sides of the pawl are not bent or broken. That will interfere with the performance of the pawl. And then clean the shoulders here. That's where a lot of the old greases and dirt line up. And that makes it, well, it makes it difficult to function properly if it's got choked grease in there. I'm going to insert the pawl back in. Sometimes an assist with a small pliers helps, if you have big hands like I do. Just drop it in there. And that pawl needs to ride flush in the case. If it's not down all the way, then rotate the worm a couple of turns, and that generally will help you seat the pawl correctly. Let's put the cap back on. I'm going to put a good squeeze of oil onto the worm here. I use oil, not grease. Give it a turn. It's turning nicely. And while I have this over here, I'm just going to grab a cotton swab. There's some dirt that has accumulated inside the case here, so we're going to take care of that as well. Let's go over to the non-handle side then and service the spool. There's 4 screws, from what I can tell, that are holding on the side case. When I take the screws out, I want to lay them on my desk to make sure that they're all the same size. You know what they say about assume. I've assumed too many times that they're all going to be the same size, and then I find out there's an oddball in there. And 9 times out of 10, I install it in the wrong place. And well, that just creates trouble and rework. So I've learned now to just start by laying them all there. And once I'm convinced that they're all the same size, or I've marked the ones that are bigger or smaller, then I move them over to the part strip. Now we should be able to pull up. There's the 5th one. I didn't see that one there. And if you started to try and remove it and it was still stuck, you need to go back, check your work, check the inside. Sometimes some manufacturers will hide screws on the inside, but whatever you do, don't pry them off, because if you try to pry them off and that side plate breaks, you're done. All right, we've removed that. There's one of the ball bearings. It happens to be a sealed ball bearing, so we don't need to do anything there. We're going to pull that because we want to get this piece here untangled. There's a lot of backlash that's occurred with the absence of that anti-reverse, so we want to clean that up. So I'm going to just turn the camera off for a moment until I clear this line, and then we'll be back on. Okay, so I was able to remove the bird's nested line. Got one little tag here still wants to come out. Let's just clip that. I'm going to put a rubber band on there to hold it so it won't do it again. Again, you have a sealed bearing there, so you don't need to do anything with that. A little bit of grease onto the studs on both sides. This one has some casting brakes, so make sure you pull them in when you go to reinstall. And we can take the shaft here, reinsert, make sure that these brakes go inside the race here. If you trap them, the reel will not perform properly. Take that and our side case here. You can put a drop of oil on the click mechanism if you like. And just reseat the case. Again, make sure that it seats properly. It's nice and tight with a closed seam. And again, we noted when we took this apart that the 5 screws are all the same size, so it doesn't matter which one it goes in. Just line them up. I'm off a little bit here for some reason. There we go. Now we're right. Don't force anything when you do reel repair. If you find that something's not working right, just stop your work and recheck. Too many times I've seen these things get forced and bend apart or break apart, And that's never a good thing, particularly on a reel where parts are generally not available. This one's a nice little reel though. I'm kind of liking it. I'm going to date this one to the somewhere in the early 2000s. And 2 more screws after this one, and we'll put the handle on. We'll give it a test. And as we mentioned, they were all the same size, so it doesn't matter which mounting hole they go in. One more now. All right, before you put the handle on, it's a good opportunity to clean the reel because the handle will get in the way. So use a little patch of a kitchen scrubby and some rod and reel cleaner. And if there's any residual greases or dirt or the like, this will help remove them and clean up the reel. Light coating, get a paper towel and clean it off. Let's go ahead and install the handle then. Remember, we had a little tension washer that goes between the adjuster and the handle. The handle was up next. Then we put the post washer on. There's a small little washer that goes on the top before the E-clip. And the E-clip comes on. Now the E-clip, sometimes you can get these on with hand strength. Sometimes you need a little assist. I use the small pliers. In this case, I was able to get that on with finger pressure. Next up then is the cap. And this is where the convenience of a parts tray helps. You can simply look into your parts tray and find the piece that you're looking for next. And you don't have to worry if you don't have it right. When you go to put these on, I recommend hand threading these only. Get them started, because there is times like this one where it's a little difficult to get it started. There we go, got it now. And if you start cross-threading it, you're going to have a lot of trouble and generally wind up with a stripped gear shaft. Okay, if you put these caps on with basically perpendicular to the hole, you can generally get the alignment right. I just missed by just a little fraction there. Line the hole in your retention clip with your hole in the handle. This is the last piece. My parts tray is empty, so we've put them all back together. It's time for a test. Before I do that, I'm just going to put a squirt of penetrating oil into the shaft of each knob. Okay, let's give it the test then. We've cleaned it all up. Remember, the issue was we did not have an anti-reverse that was functioning on this reel. What did we do? We took the reel completely apart. We made sure that all of the gears were greased and the bearings were working and the reel cleaned up nicely. It's time to give it a test. So give it a nice spin. The line guide's moving beautifully. The reel is turning easily. This is a high capacity spool, so this one can be used in the salt water. And more importantly, does it stop on the back pedal? Well, it surely does. So mission accomplished. We've serviced the reel and we've corrected the problem with the anti-reverse, which was probably the old grease that seemed to be stuck inside the forks. Let's give it a test of the free spool. Turns nicely. And if you need to adjust this free spool, we have a spool tensioner on the side here. If you want it to spin faster, back it off counterclockwise. If you want it to speed slower, then turn it clockwise to tighten up on that. Pops off and it's ready to go. So there you go. That's the Quantum Pro 4 mag gear reel that's ready to go fishing again. It's at its second chance. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts are Truly appreciated. To everyone, I wish you good luck fishing, and please, before you go, make sure your reels are ready for the test. Clean them up, keep them serviced, keep them oiled and lubed, and they'll treat you well for years to come. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.